Okay, so today I'm going to briefly go through a sample that I've done of the mini research project that I'm going through with English 3. So if you're watching this and you're a senior, it's going to be really, really similar to what I'm expecting you to do for the mini research project for Malcolm X. The process, at least, is going to be extremely similar in terms of what I want and expect you to do. And then at the end, I'm going to show you guys how to do citations. So please watch the video all the way through. It's going to give you instructions for what I'm expecting, what everything should look like when you're done. So if you've already done some or all of these steps, you can watch through and make sure that your steps look like my steps, that you did these steps the same way. If you have not done them yet, congratulations. These might be the instructions in a different way. All cool beans. And again, at the end, we are going to go through the citation process. Citations are how you give credit for research. They're how you avoid that plagiarism zero. So when we do research, we always want to give credit where credit is due. If you get something off of the internet, you have to say where you got it. And there's a very specific way that we do that in academia, and that is citations. So I'm going to teach you how to do that at the end. So let's real quick go through my sample. So this should look familiar to everybody that does the research pass the crap test sample. So I did, if I could change one thing about my country instead of Marshall High School, because I don't go to school here, but I do live in America. And my sample was I would tie rent caps to the minimum wage. I did it this way because once I start going through a more in-depth sample with the seniors, I did another example with what the seniors are going to have to do for a social issue. And so I'm going to be doing a lot with the minimum wage with them because that's going to be my example. So my topic, I would tie rent control, rent caps with the minimum wage in a given state. So I'm looking for two examples from the internet of articles that pass each step of the crap test. Remember, I always keep samples of the crap handout right on top of this Chromebook cart if you have lost yours. So please always check your folder to make sure and see if you have one. But if you don't, it's on top of the Chromebook cart. So I have the link to my first source here. This link is so important. You're going to need it for the citation step. I have the link here. Let's look at the crap test. Currency. Currency is how current the thing is. This thing in the link is a speech by President Truman. It was in June of 1947. This is super old, but the reason that I looked it up, I'm talking about rent control. I picked it for historical precedent, so it passes. Relevance. For it to be relevant, it has to be about the thing that I'm looking at. This speech is about the economy, and it's about rent caps specifically. It's about the rent caps that he just put in place. It passes. Authority. The writer or publisher needs to be someone that we trust and knows what they're talking about on the topic. My thesis for this paper calls the government to take action. This speech is by a president who took the exact action or close that I'm calling on the government to take. It passes. Accuracy. The information needs to seem trustworthy. The guy who passed the law is the one speaking about the law. It's probably accurate about what he's talking about. Pass. Purpose. The reason that someone put this information out there, that they made the speech, that they wrote the article, whatever, should be just to inform you and not so much to try and sell you something or persuade you on something. Now, this one barely passes because Truman is absolutely trying to be convincing, but it's Congress he's trying to convince and not us. So, because the speech was preserved for historical purposes, to inform us of what happened in history, it passes. It's mostly to inform, but it still barely passes. Okay? Now that you have a source, what does it say about your topic? So, I've got some quotes from my topic. Note over here this bracket, dot, 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 bracket. I have these in a couple of places. You'll see them more once I actually show you my paper. That means I cut something out because it was too long. This thing in bold here is me summing it up, and this thing here is going to help me write my introduction to this paragraph. I'm not going to go through the whole thing a second time. but I did exactly the same thing. I have what I got from the source. I have all the information about why it passes. I have everything I got. I have my little summing it up, which I'm basically going to use in either my explanation or my introduction. This is going to help me when writing my paper to make it super fast. And then at the bottom, looking at both sources together, can you answer your question about what happens? I left the schools thing, oopsie. When they do what you suggest, what can you conclude? So I'm just putting it bullet points. Rent caps have been done before. There's legal precedent to do it again. The economy is healthier when people have more money, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read all of this to you because this is supposed to be fast. In bold, therefore, it's reasonable to conclude it would be a highly effective, economically stimulating measure to do the thing I'm saying we should do. This thing in bold, because that's my conclusion, what I've concluded from my evidence, that's going to become my thesis because that's my claim. That's the thing I'm stating should happen. And it's based on my evidence. So that's going to become my thesis. This is not my thesis, but it's going to become my thesis. So now I'm not going to close this because I need these links, but I'm going to come on over here. Let's take a look at my iced tea. Introduction. The job of the introduction is to make people interested in what I'm saying and to give them a little preview of what I'm going to tell them. So this is where I just start talking about my topic and give the parts that I think is interesting, right? So I'm talking about rent. I'm talking about why bills are difficult, right? I know my rent is a quarter of my income every year, and I live somewhere that's rather famously falling apart around me. I'm being relatable. I'm talking about why it's difficult. If housing was more affordable, most people's most expensive bill would be reduced, giving them more money for essentials, which would put that money back into the economy, helping reduce the effects of the recession. Okay, this is me talking about my topic. I haven't given any evidence yet. This is all my words. My thesis. This is the hill I'm going to die on. This is my claim plus the information that backs my claim up. In order to reduce the effects of inflation and recession on the American economy, Congress should, this is what I'm claiming should happen, pass a law setting rent caps at 30% monthly of the minimum wage full-time in each state, thereby forcing each state to either raise their minimum wage to meet housing prices or cap housing prices to meet the minimum wage. Either way, this will ensure that people have more financial freedom to spend their money and contribute to the overall health of the American economy. So I've got claim and reasoning. That's a thesis. Everything in red, this is going to become my introductory paragraph. My yellow section, introduce. Okay, so I'm talking about my topic. I'm talking about that Truman article. The idea of rent control isn't super new in America. We were talking about it in the 1940s. We were passing laws about it in the 1940s. Cite, quote or paraphrase. I've got my quote. It's got these bracket ... where I cut something out because it got super long. Notice I left a part of my instructions. Use a parenthetical citation because we're going to do that here in this video. Explain. Notice how explain is the longest part of my yellow because explain is where I talk. It's where I tell you what this means, and then I explain why it means that we should do this. I come down. Transition. While I agree with President Truman, I also think we should be sensitive to the needs of individual taxpayers. So I'm summing up this and I'm linking this transition. I do the same thing. I introduce my evidence. I give my quote. It's got this section where I cut anything out where it was long. Any type of change to the original quote goes in brackets. See this? This wasn't originally capitalized. That's all that means. Use parenthetical citation. We're going to do that in this video. Okay, my transition and my conclusion I haven't written yet because if you remember English 3, we're still going to be writing a rebuttal paragraph in the draft version, and I've decided that I'm also going to be doing another paragraph. I'm going to mess around with the formatting a little bit. So we're going to be messing around with that. So my conclusion is going to be all over the place. So I haven't done that yet. Moving on over to the draft. Here we go. Formatting. My name goes here. That's the only thing that goes here at the top. Capital first, capital last. Teacher's name. Your class. The date that you're turning this in. Today is the 2nd of February. You can do February 2. You can do 2 February. One of them's European. I just got stuck doing that. Okay. All important words. So like to, the, of, not important. But the United States of America, that's a title. All important words and the first and last word get capitalized in a title. Now here we go. I've copied and pasted. That little 1.5 page, it became 3 pages. Well, I wrote my rebuttal paragraph and my conclusion, okay? So here we go. Here's what I have. I have a beautiful paper here. But here's what I still need to do. Citations. So let's go. There's a hard way to do this. If you decide to go the college route, they're going to teach it to you. But we're not in college, so let's do it the easy way. Remember how I told you were going to need the links? Grab that link to your first source. Copy. You're going to go over here. You're going to find the thing that you took from your first source. We're over here. I'm going to get rid of the period at the end, but I'm going to leave the quote. And I'm going to put my cursor so that it's after the quote. With my cursor there at the end of the thing that I took from my first source. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to click on Tools. Then I'm going to click on Citations. I'm going to move myself over so I'm not in the way. Over here in the Citations tab, there are a couple of options of what type of citation that you want. In high school, we use MLA. In college, it varies. It depends on the class. A lot of classes use APA. We're going to use MLA because this is an English class. I'm going to click Add a Citation Source. Your source type is a website. You accessed it on the website. Where it says search with URL, you are going to paste that link and you're going to click search. Okay. So here's what it has. Here are some things that are missing. So publish year and contributors. I'm going to click continue. So it really wants, if we can find it, contributor is this author thing. And then publish year. In a perfect world, we could find those things. So I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to go ahead and open this link. So the contributors, moving myself over again. So this is the National Archives, Harry S. Truman. But this is a speech by President Truman. It's signed, Harry S. Truman. So who's the speaker? He's the writer. That's the guy. Harry S. Truman. That's the guy. That's the author. And the published year, the speech was given in 1947. We know that. June 30th, 1947. That's when the speech was. We're done. That's what's required. I'm going to click Add Citation Source. We now have this source. My cursor's still here, right? It's right here. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click Cite. And now I have a perfect in-text citation. Your citation is the end of your sentence. This is the end of the quote. Your citation is the end of your sentence. You put the period after that. Let's do the next one. All right. This one over here. Blah, blah, blah. Let's find the end of the... Here we go. Okay. I take the period out because your citation is the end of your sentence. I put my cursor over there. I'm going to add a citation source. We don't need that. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to find my second source. I'm going to copy this link. It's a website. Oh my goodness. This is amazing. They found everything except for the contributors. All right. Now, author, You can also select corporation or organization. Why do I know off the top of my head who the author or contributor of every source is? Answer: because I made sure it passed the CRAP test, which means when I answered the authority question, I knew the answer to this. So, authority. It's a research group called the Center on Budget Policy and Priorities. It's a corporation organization. That's the author. That's it. That's all we need. That's all that was missing. All right, Center on Budget Policy, etc. My cursor's still in the right place. We're going to cite them. And then we're going to put a period because your citation is the end of your sentence. Now, last step. After every single thing that you take from a source, that it's not you saying it, it's your source saying it, has to have one of these in-text citations, parenthetical citation. Parenthetical means it's in parentheses. Once you are done with that, you're going to go all the way to the bottom of your paper. You're going to hit enter just until you are at the top of your next page. And then you are going to come over here and you are going to click Insert Works Cited. And it's going to create this beautiful, alphabetically organized Works Cited page for you. Do not change anything about the Works Cited because the formatting is insane and you don't want to have to change that manually. Now, again, if you decide to go the college route, they're going to teach you how to do all of this manually. There are all kinds of complex ways to do this. In high school, as far as I'm concerned, you don't need to know the complicated way to do this. You just need to know how to make it work so that it exists, so that you didn't plagiarize, and so that we can find all of your sources. This is what it's going to look like. This means you did it right. Your works cited is always on its own page, and it always starts at the top of the next page, even if that means that this page beforehand has like one line of text at the top. Even if it looks like that, doesn't matter. Works cited is always on its own page. Okay, happy writing.